Welcome in to the Rockies Insider. I am your host, Patrick Lyons, and I'm here to break down the 3-game series for the Colorado Rockies as they head into enemy territory in Southern California against those Los Angeles Dodgers. Plenty to talk about in regards to Shohei Ohtani's historic season and historic game on Thursday. But I do want to preview this series, let you know what's at stake for Ohtani and what's happening with the Rockies right now. A couple injuries, a couple different moves in the starting lineup, and who you might expect late in this ball game, because spoiler alert, only Justin Lawrence has a save in that building at Dodger Stadium. So who's Bud Black going to turn to if they do hold the lead by this game started by Kyle Freeland? Going to get into that and a lot more, but let's talk about the man of the hour, the man of the year, the man of the last several seasons since 2021, when Shohei Ohtani really began to take his full form as a two-way player in 2018, 19, and even parts of 2020, had various injuries and just wasn't really able to live up to the hype and really the goals that he had set for himself when he came over from Japan, from NPB, from the Nippon Ham Fighters. He wasn't able to do that until 2021, built that momentum up. We got to see him all in Denver, his coming out party, truly his coming out party at the All-Star game in 2021, the home run derby, fans chanting for him during his timeout. And since then, he has 2 MVP awards. I think, in my opinion, he probably should have won it in 2022 over Aaron Judge. 2024, it very much seems like it's going to be his award again. Say what you will about not playing defense and only being a DH. Shohei Ohtani has done something no ball player has ever done since the invention of professional baseball, and that is hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in the same season. We did just see Ronald Acuna Jr. go 40-70, but no one had ever hit 50 home runs in a season and also stolen 50. A remarkable performance on Thursday afternoon in Miami. He goes 6 for 6, a career high. He hits 3 home runs, career high. He's got himself 2 stolen bases, 10 RBI, naturally a career high for him, and goes just bonkers. I don't know what to say about that performance on Thursday. I think it very well may be the greatest single game performance in baseball history, at least in the regular season. Once you get to the postseason, that's kind of a completely different beast. You could go 3 for 5 and that'd be an all-time performance in many ways. But 6 for 6 against those Marlins, the numbers are really staggering coming out of this game. He was also a triple shy of a cycle, but career high in all of those things and tied a career high with 4 runs scored. Think of it this way. If you want to talk about, is this the greatest baseball game ever played by one man? He went 6 for 6. Actually, let me back up. Not a lot of players have stolen 2 bases in a game. That's rarefied air, right? It's a cool thing to have done. Doesn't mean you're a legend, but stealing 2 bases in a game is pretty special. It's even more rare. Even less players have hit 3 homers in a game. Even less than that have had 6 hits in a game. Even less than that have ever recorded 10 RBI in a single game. For many players, any one of those 4 things would have made for a career day that they would be talking about for the rest of their lives. Either hitting 3 home runs in a game, 6 hits in a game, or 10 RBI. That's a great game. Shohei Ohtani did it all on the same day. And in the process, he clinched his first ever postseason berth since entering the league in 2018. How about that? All of those things on the same day. So this, in my opinion, goes down very easily as the greatest regular season game ever played in baseball history because of everything that was at stake, everything he was able to do. And it happens on a day in which he makes history. And it breaks the 50 stolen base threshold and 50 homer threshold. In fact, he ends up joining the 51-51 club. If we want to separate 50-50 from 51-51, doesn't really matter. The fact is, Shohei Ohtani is an absolute unicorn. He is an absolute unicorn. And that ball that he hit for number 50, because he got to the stolen bases first, that ball is going to be worth several millions of dollars. Now, maybe I shouldn't be mentioning this because I don't know how substantiated this report is, but the Dodgers offered up a hefty sum of cash, of money, to this person that came away with the ball. But unfortunately, Shohei Ohtani is not going to have that ball right now. Will he end up winning the bid? Will he end up winning the auction for his own ball? I think so. I think probably. He's got a 3-4 million. I'm sure that he could splurge on the 50 home run ball that put him in the 50-50 club. But that person walked away with a historic baseball, the likes of which, we haven't seen. And, we've had baseballs like this in the past with, Mark McGwire topping Roger Maris's record, Barry Bonds then doing it, and then that baseball getting sold at an auction and having an asterisk actually carved into that baseball, stamped into it like a rawhide. That's on display at the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. So that ball's been vandalized essentially to make an example of Barry Bonds and to make an example of the PED era, the use of steroids. Bud Selig, the commissioner who oversaw that entire era. But this ball now becomes even more special than that. 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. Shout out to Yuki in the chat. Appreciate the love and the support, buddy. But that ball becomes, I think, even more rare, partially because this isn't just a piece of baseball history, right? I said the National Baseball Hall of Fame. National meaning nation, meaning the United States. Sure, there's representation from the Toronto Blue Jays there, and there are various exhibits having to deal with baseball all around the world and different artifacts from all over the world. But Shohei Ohtani, what he did wasn't just an American or even a North American record. It is something that the people of Japan, another entire continent and country, are interested in. So that makes that ball, in my opinion, worth even more than what we saw the Barry Bonds record-breaking home run ball go for in 2001. So that's a very, very pricey souvenir. And now Shohei Ohtani, I mean, we may just need to rename Marlins Park. I know it doesn't have a brand sponsor right now. It's probably surprising to think that that's one of the few out there with Yankee Stadium, Dodger Stadium, Angel Stadium, and Nationals Park, Yankee Stadium. Marlins Park, it still has the same name as the team that plays there, but we may need to call it Ohtani Park because the two biggest games of Shohei Ohtani's career have now come in Miami. This game on Thursday, in which he goes 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 10 RBI, 4 runs scored. And let's not forget last March, the 2023 World Baseball Classic championship game, gets the final out, strikes out his teammate Mike Trout in a matchup that you would not believe even if you saw it in a film or read it in a piece of fiction. You would say this just isn't believable. And Ohtani got the job done against the greatest American hitter we've seen in a very long time. He did that all at Marlins Park. That's wild to think about. That's just absolutely wild to think about. Now, what does he have left? That's kind of the question. Like, I guess he's done. He can kind of coast into the postseason. Dodgers, their magic number is 6 games before they can clinch the NL West. So they want to get that done. They're tied for the best record in the National League. They do want to get that first round bye. They do want to get home field advantage in the National League Championship Series. All of those things, of course, are at stake. You saw a very subdued celebration for clinching the postseason last night for the Dodgers. Just had a little classy glass of champagne. And hey, let's get back on the plane, go all the way from one coast to the other. Let's go from Miami to Los Angeles because we got a 3-game series with the Colorado Rockies coming up. 3 against the Padres at home after that. And then they come to Denver for 3 games. And that's where it maybe gets even more interesting than what we're going to see over the next 6 days. So what else is at stake? Well, one thing is you could say the Triple Crown. You could say the National League Triple Crown is at stake for Shohei Ohtani. He leads the NL in home runs, leads the National League in RBI. His batting average jumped up a whopping 7 points because of his 6-for-6 game on Thursday against Miami. But with Luis Ariz even going 0-for-5 on Thursday, still has a 320 batting average. And where Ohtani is at the start of Friday, 297, it's not impossible. But as David Lorla, good baseball buddy of mine from Fangraphs, pointed out, if Shohei Ohtani went 20 for his next 40, so a 500 batting average, possible, unlikely. If he went 20 for 40 and Luis Ariz went something like 4 for his next 40, Luis Ariz would still have a better batting average. So that's more than likely not going to happen. I think Shohei Ohtani doesn't know that it probably isn't going to happen or that the odds are stacked against him. He's still going to go out and do his job. He also has his teammates and the Dodgers pitchers going against Ariz for 3 games coming up at the beginning of next week. So it's not impossible, but it's probably unlikely that he wins the first Triple Crown in the National League since Joe Ducky Medwick in 1937 for the St. Louis Cardinals, the Gas House Gang, all-time great team. He's a Hall of Famer, of course. Is Shohei Ohtani a Hall of Famer? I want to talk about that a lot more in the offseason, break it down. It seems like a no-brainer that he is a Hall of Famer, but the rules of the Hall of Fame do state you have to have played in the majors for at least 10 years. And until they somehow retroactively say, well, if you played in Japan, we'll count that. No, he only has 7 years. So right now, if his career ended, he would not be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Could a Veterans Committee eventually get him in? Perhaps, but I don't think we're going to even need to go down that road. I had some conversations with some people over this past week about, and I might have even mentioned it on the last pod, the fact that the Hall of Fame, the qualifications for the Hall of Fame need to start to change. I think voters and the Hall itself probably needs to start changing the way they view what's a Hall of Famer and what isn't, because players just aren't compiling in the same way. So Shohei Ohtani may never reach 500 home runs. He might not reach 400. He might not reach 300. Maybe he stops hitting and becomes purely a pitcher for some strange reason. We don't know what the future holds. But the fact that he's done something for 4 straight years, unlike even Babe Ruth, that is a special, unique player that I think that deserves enshrinement in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't think he's going to get 100% right now, but I think at some point he could become the second player to ever get 100% of voting. So many people right now, you're rolling your eyes going, there should be about 50, maybe even 100 players who should have been a 100% slam dunk, getting into the Hall of Fame, appearing on everyone's ballot. Check yes, but that's not the case. There's been one. Closer, Mariano Rivera. Say what you will, but that is the reality of things. So we'll worry about the Hall of Fame later. Triple Crown, probably not going to happen. But this weekend, or maybe even the next 3 games against the Padres, Shohei Ohtani, he already now has the most home runs in Dodgers history, in the Brooklyn/Los Angeles Dodgers history. 140 years. 1884 was the first year that Brooklyn fielded a professional team, and no player had ever reached 50 home runs. Shawn Green with 49 in 2001, that was the record. Now it's Shohei Ohtani with 51. What else? What other home run mark could he set in Dodgers franchise history? Well, he could hit the most home runs at Dodger Stadium in a single season. Currently, the record is 27 by Cody Bellinger in 2019, his MVP campaign. Right now, Shohei Ohtani is at 26. So he needs 2 to take that record, and he's got 6 more games to do that. You know Shohei Ohtani is aware of that. You know he knows the record is 27, and you know he wants to get at least 28. You know he's probably setting the bar at 30, so he can just be head and shoulders. And so it's not, hey, I hit the most in Dodgers history. I hit 28. It's that I'm the only player to hit 30. That has a better sound to it. That has a better ring to it. In a ballpark, that is not a homer haven. Dodgers, there's a reason why 27 is the record. There hasn't been very many players who have even hit 20 home runs at Dodger Stadium because it's such a large outfield. There's also a lot of foul territory, which you think, well, how does that involve home runs? Well, if there's more foul territory, that means there's more foul outs, which means that at bat is just taken away from you. Now that's one less. Hey, I get to put the ball in play in fair territory. There's more foul ground that way. That means there's going to be more outs. Batting averages are going to be suppressed. Powers numbers are going to be suppressed. Go and look at Oakland Coliseum. That has the largest foul territory. It's another reason why it's more of a pitcher's ballpark than a hitter's ballpark. So you got the Dodger Stadium record at stake. Total bases, that's one that I don't know that he's going to get right now. He sits third most total bases in Dodgers history. One more, and he ties Hall of Famer Duke Snider for second most. The record is 416. He's on pace for about 400 right now, so he's going to need to turn it on if possible. No one really discusses too much total base records. I mean, that would be nice for him. I'm sure he would like to have Babe Herman's record, 416, a long time ago. Babe Herman is a name that I do know. I thought he was in the Hall of Very Good. He's in the Hall of Pretty Good. That's it. But Ohtani, he's probably going to get 400 total bases in the next 9 games. Does he want that record? I'm sure. And here's maybe the biggest one. Here's maybe the biggest thing Shohei Ohtani wants before we get to the series preview. The thing that Shohei Ohtani would really love to have, besides all the hitting records, besides being the first player to go 50-50, Shohei Ohtani would like to pitch during the regular season. And I think he's going to. No player has ever had Tommy John surgery or even the internal brace, even one of those modified UCL surgeries, which I believe is what he had late last season and has pitched in the next year. Now, manager Dave Roberts did say recently that there was a non-zero chance that Ohtani might pitch in either the NLCS or the World Series should the Dodgers get that far. And is it going to be in the relief role? Probably. Definitely. But probably. And as great as that would be, that's not guaranteed. Shohei Ohtani, you have to think, went into this season telling himself, I'm going to pitch this year. I'm going to pitch in the regular season. I'm going to do it. And so I think if it doesn't happen at home in LA over the next 6 games, he will be on the mound at Coors Field against the Colorado Rockies next weekend. I think that's going to happen. Again, this is not based on any insider information. I'm your Rockies insider. I'm not your Ohtani insider. There's some things I do know, but I don't know everything. I think a lot of Ohtani's teammates don't know a lot either. But with everything Ohtani has done, with every unpredictable next achievement he accomplishes, it begs the question, well, what else could he do? Pitch this season? This regular season? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's going to happen. Rockies this year are 23-55 on the road. Trails only the White Sox as worst in Major League. Even if the Rockies happen to get swept this weekend, this is their final 3 games on the road. It's not going to be their worst road season in franchise history. 2014, they lost 60 games on the road. And just last year, they lost 59. They were 22-59. So maybe this will either go down as the 3rd or 4th worst road season in franchise history. We can't forget that their last road trip was all against teams above 500. They may very well be against 3 teams that make the postseason now. Didn't seem that way last week, but now it could be. They went 4-5 against Atlanta, Milwaukee, and the Detroit Tigers, who took 2 out of 3, nearly swept the Rockies. Rockies were able to manage and get a win on a game that Tarek Skubal started. So maybe that one game ends up deciding the Tigers' fate. Again, we know that the Rockies want to play spoilers right now. They're not playing for a spot in the postseason, but everyone that they play absolutely are doing that. So they are in the midst of postseason style baseball. It sure is. It's coming from the other side of the dugout or the other side of the field in the other dugout. But the Rockies are going to benefit from that caliber of play, especially in an enemy territory like Los Angeles. And that bullpen is really going to feel it. And that's a good thing. But they're really going to feel it because one of the transactions before Friday's game, Tyler Kinley goes on the IL. Jake Bird gets called up from AAA. And only Justin Lawrence has a save in that building at Chavez Ravine. Only him. The rest of the bullpen has yet to experience that 9th inning with a save on the line, with the game on the line. I'm very curious to see who's going to get the ball in the ninth. Should the Rockies have a lead of 3 runs or less? For me, my depth chart, I don't think it's going to be Victor Vodnik, who was the closer before going on the IL, and Kinley took back over in that role. Vodnik has just been fine since coming back from the IL. I think you want to maybe wait and for him to have more momentum. He certainly is closer of the future. He certainly has that potential with his arsenal. I think Angel Chivi has a decent shot, but my money's on Seth Halverson. I think the man that Spilly calls gas is going to get the ball in the ninth at Dodger Stadium. He's mature enough. He has a good enough head on his shoulders that I think he can deal with that environment at Dodger Stadium with 40+ thousand people going bananas. I think Seth Halverson would be that guy that gets the ball in the ninth. I don't know that it's going to happen going forward beyond that, but this weekend, Seth Halverson, with the way that he's been pitching, I think he's going to be the guy that gets the ball in a save situation. Now, for Friday's game, Kyle Freeland gets to start against Ryan Brazier. He is an opener. I think after that, you might see Ben Kasparius, who just got called up in the starting lineup. No Brenton Doyle tonight. Patella tendonitis in his knee. Had that sliding catch on Wednesday that aggravated it just a bit. He's getting treatment. Might not need the IL. He's just banged up. So he's not in the starting lineup. Sam Hilliard in center. And Hunter Goodman catching once again, starting behind the plate. That is a really, really good thing. And I love that Freeland's going in this first game against the Dodgers to maybe set the tone, set the pace a little bit for the next two guys coming in behind him. If you remember, Freeland did strike out Ohtani in the World Baseball Classic Championship game back in March of 2023. A few months later, he got tagged by Ohtani, that big home run that wasn't in just the inner half of the plate. No, it wasn't even just inside. It was inner in. That's that Ohtani home run that Freeland turned around saying, how the bleep did he hit that? Because it was amazing. Ohtani also had a double in that game, went 2 for 3 in their only regular season matchup. But Freeland does have a 3.88 ERA at Dodger Stadium in his career. First start at Dodger Stadium this season. On Saturday, it's going to be Cal Quantro versus Walker Buehler. And then on Sunday, a 2:10 start. Antonio Senzatella in his second start coming off the IL from Tommy John surgery against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Mark Stout, I love this fun fact by him. Got to check him out over on Twitter, Mile High Mark. HI is the high. But Ohtani has homered in all 30 ballparks, and he's homered against a pitcher whose last name starts with every letter of the alphabet except X, which there's only been one player who's had a last name that starts with the letter X. Leo Vigildo Ziquez from Cuba played 44 games in the Negro Leagues. He was a position player, wasn't even a pitcher. So we've never even seen a pitcher with the last name that starts with the letter X. But he's homered against a pitcher whose last name starts with every letter except X and except Q. Cal Quantrill gets the start on Saturday, 7:10 p.m. You know I like dumb stuff like that. That's dumb. Mark knows it's dumb. And Mark also knows I love that kind of stuff. That's awesome. That's very cool. Again, yeah, great opportunity for these young guys getting the opportunity at Dodger Stadium. And Dodgers have been really good since the All-Star break, 35-21, third best record in Major League Baseball. And I'm looking forward to this weekend, this series. I think there was not a lot made of it, but a little bit in certain pockets of the world, talking with a Rockies player about Ohtani, just kind of offhandedly shooting the you-know-what about, whether or not he gets 50-50 since he's got a lot of opportunities against the Rockies. And, just kind of talking off the cuff like, hey, I don't think it's going to happen against us. Well, guess what? It didn't happen against the Rockies. It happened before that. So Rockies have nothing to worry about in terms of being on that wrong side of history. Say what you will, but yeah, the Rockies aren't going to be giving up that 50-50 game to get across the threshold. So that's the series there. Rockies, Dodgers, 3 games, and then 3 more next weekend. I'll be back for a post-game show on Sunday. Hopefully have a guest for you there, talk a little bit more about this series. Again, a lot of growth for this Rockies team right now. Very young. They're letting the youth play, and the youth, they're producing. That's the other part of this, is the youth are absolutely producing. 4-5 road trip that they just last came off of, hoping to play similar to that maybe for these last 3 games. Maybe you can take one. If you win the series, I mean, that bodes really well for 2025. I don't know that that's going to happen, but get one win and leave Dodger Stadium feeling really positive before your final 6 at home against the Cardinals and Dodgers. Appreciate you joining. Appreciate everybody who was in the chat, making comments, asking questions, keeping the show moving along. I appreciate that. If you can do that also anywhere that you listen to a podcast, to review it, to rate it, subscribe it on the Rockies Insider channel on YouTube. That really goes a long way. Appreciate it. So thank you for that momentum. But as I like to say, that momentum, it's only as good as my next show. So I'll talk to you then.